Well, hello and welcome to Jigsaw Shed. So in this project I took a piece of ash that I've been seasoning since March 22 and decided I'm going to turn a white rimmed bowl from it that I can decorate. However, as you can tell from the video title, that had changed. Now from the offset there were some cracks in this piece and I knew I had to do something with them as I progressed in the project, but you will see what became of that as the video progresses. Now obviously the roughing had to start at a very slow speed just because the piece was quite out of balance, but as I started touring it up I could speed the lathe up and then start working on my initial rough shape. So at this point I felt something wet against my hand, and upon investigating, turns out it was a worm. Now unfortunately the worm did not make it. However, the tool was really sharp and it was quick for him, and we will remember him, but for now I had to get on with the project. So I noticed that there was quite a nice bit of spalting in the piece and some nice character, so I decided to change my design from a wide rim bowl into a potpourri bowl. So at this point I just cleaned out some of the cracks just to see what they're about, and also some of the punky worm-ridden areas to decide what I'm going to do with them. So my decision was to use O3 adhesives thin to just penetrate down into those areas and just stabilize them and seal them up really. I then decided to go with the medium CA as well, just to fill in those areas a little bit more now that they've been sealed with a thin one. Now I did decide to go for a mortise with this piece, but unfortunately, as you can see, I forgot to change the camera angle so you can see the creation of that. But you've hopefully seen plenty of these being made and get the general gist of it. Now, who doesn't love a bit of sanding? Don't worry, I'm not going to keep you here long. We will skip ahead in a moment into me using the Simon Hope mini texturing tool just to add some detail onto the bottom. So the application of the sanding sealer here just helped really to seal in those punky areas with the rest of the wood, giving an overall hardness to the wood, allowing me to resand the piece from 100 grit to 400 grit and then allowing for a much better finish. Now don't worry, again I'm not going to keep you with this and we will skip ahead shortly. So here, just using the Chestnut Products Web pads to denip the area following the application of the sanding sealer, in preparation for using Yorkshire Grit abrasive paste to really sand the piece further and give it a much better shine, ready for the application of microcrystalline wax. So having flipped it over, it was time to start working out how much of the area was going to be for the potpourri lid, and then get the general shape of the top part of the bowl. So just throwing in some more O3 adhesives, CA glue to stabilise a crack that had been exposed more, now that I've turned the top, just to try and stop that crack moving further, as there has been some movement in this piece. So to aid the hollowing process, I used my Jacob's chuck with a Forstner bit in my tailstock to drill out the centre part of the bowl, and then I would move on to my Simon Hope hollowing tool. But before I used the hollowing tool, I just used my skew chisel just to mark out the areas where the potpourri lid will have to sit, so that I didn't obviously cut that away. So I then decided to throw it into reverse action just so I could get in a bit further under the rim, and this was a bit tricky initially, just getting my head around the tool presentation, but soon figured it out, and it helped me get more material cleared out before I then had to move on to my Robert Sorby MIDI Hollow, the Swanek tool, to really get in under that rim. So my initial idea with this crack was to leave it open and provide another air hole for the potpourri. However, it wasn't as prominent underneath the rim, so I decided instead to use the O3 Adhesives Thick CA to completely seal it in. So this crack did go down into the bottom of the bowl, and I decided that I'm going to use my Dremel to carve it out and try and pierce in to create another vent for the potpourri. So just using the 108 bit here, as it had a finer point and allowed me to get into some of the finer areas and also just clean out some of the deeper sections as well. So at this point I realized that the crack was mainly running very shallow to the base of the bowl, and it would take a lot more to carve out and into the bowl where the crack comes out. So instead I decided I will seal it in, initially just with some clear adhesives and then some black CA on top. Now it took a few applications of the black just to get some of the holes that were appearing as I was just sanding it back, because obviously I didn't really want to have to apply a lot and turn the whole piece away again as it had been finished. I just really needed to do that one section. So at this point I did think that actually it would have been better to have used epoxy glue with mica powder to have filled up the crack after I'd widened it, rather than using the black CA, which it needed quite a lot of. So then it was just back to using Yorkshire Grit to polish it up again a bit, and then I will apply microcrystalline wax when I do the top part of the bowl. So I didn't sand the inside as much as obviously the outside, only because it was an issue of reach, but also it's meant to be filled with potpourri and it's got the lid on top, so the main features you're going to see is the outside of the bowl, and that has to be attractive. So I then decided to use my Simon Hope mini texturing tool in opposite directions to give two bands of texture, and in the center band I decided I will use my Dremel tool to create a textured effect. Now the Simon Hope tool could have pierced a bit deeper, but it was making quite a bit of noise and I didn't want to disturb my neighbors because it was late at night. The Dremel tool did give a bit of sort of burning and shading within those circles, which actually helped enhance the effect. Unfortunately I couldn't do it with the Simon Hope tool, and would have liked a bit more detail on that. thank you for joining me in Jigsaw Shed. So there's the final piece. Now, I had a lot of fun making this, and I am in love with the character in this piece as well. Initially, it was going to be a decorative rum bowl, but I soon changed my mind when I saw what character it had and knew it just had to be shown off. So the Potpourri bowl made the best sense, especially as I wanted to initially use the cracks in it as well for a bit of the holes, but the angle of that was just wrong. Now, the decoration on the top, I love the feel of that, but it is a little bit hidden by all the character in the piece, so could have done with being a bit darker as well. So I liked where the Dremel burr just burned it a little, give some definition, but couldn't do it with the other texture. So something to consider for next time. But yeah, I like that, how that's turned out. Unfortunately, the worm that I found in it, I couldn't save it, but it is forever immortalized in memory through all the little holes that's been sealed in this piece. But anyway, I hope you liked it. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and remember to subscribe to my channel if you've not done so yet. And I hope to see you next time. Take care.